Atlantic City Beer and Music Festival. We are wrapping up session number 3, Saturday night. We are here with Cory from Tuckahoe Brewing.
Hey.
He knows beer. He knows the Sixers. We're going to have a little conversation. We're going to start with the beer first. Definitely want to focus on that. Cory, tell us about Tuckahoe in general. Obviously, I mean, the name speaks for itself based on where you guys are located at. We were there a couple years ago. I was impressed with the beer then, but it's been a long time. What we've had from you this weekend, everything I was a big fan of, but what stood out to me most was the lush vanilla milkshake. Absolutely freaking obsessed with this beer. So talk to me about, your role at Tuckahoe, what you do, and then if you want to talk about all the beers you guys have available at the festival. I know you guys have a Pilsner, you have a double IPA, a Pale Ale, and then this lush vanilla milkshake, an IPA with lactose and vanilla. Definitely the one that I think caught all of our attention the most. Absolutely obsessed with it. Probably top 3 beer I had here over all 3 sessions for sure. Maybe the best beer I had. I'm not sure where I'm at with it yet. I'm not ready to make the decision, but it's in contention.
It means a lot. Thank you. It means a lot. But like you said, my name is Cory. Were you guys at the old location or the one in Egg Harbor Township?
I think I don't know when you guys would have moved. We were at the one. It was like we would come down. We made the right at the Chickies and Pete's, and then you were down
so
on
the
the
Egg Harbor
left.
Township one. Yeah. So we've been at that location for maybe 6 years, I guess now.
Okay.
I've been brewing there for about 2 years now. I was brewing at a brewery called Pinelands before that.
Okay, I know. We know Pinelands.
Yeah, brewery over in Little Egg Harbor, Tuckerton, whatever you call it. Rob Callahan gave me a call one day and asked me if I wanted to, interview there, and here I am now. So I'm the head brewer there now. I basically, make all the new recipes. I actually brew basically all the beer myself. I have a lot of help. My buddy Mike Boland is the assistant brewer. He kills it. He works his ass off, cleaning the tanks and stuff like that for me.
I'm the assistant brewer at Brotherton, so I know what it entails.
Yeah, my buddy Mike, he works his absolute tail off, and I wouldn't be able to do it without him. But yeah,
but still, take your credit.
Yeah. I do a lot. I put my time in there. Yeah, for sure. But so all the beers at Beer Fest actually were all, I believe, all 4 of them were newer beers that I formulated in the past 2 years. I think maybe the only one was Loop. There it is. The double IPA was still when I was sharing brewing duties with Andrew Swanson, who's over now at Swedesboro Brewing Company.
Okay. Oh, they just opened.
They
got delayed a lot by COVID, but they are open now.
Yeah.
That looks beautiful.
He's an amazing brewer, super talented. So they're going to do great. I think that was the only one. The other 3 were all new beers. We try to put new stuff out because you got to stay relevant. So
of course.
As you see, our most popular beer, as you said, is this milkshake IPA. It's not something I normally brew. It's actually the first milkshake IPA that I've ever made in any capacity.
Wow.
Whether it's in one glass or
I give you even more credit.
Yeah, it's actually the first time I've even attempted to make something like that. So it came out great. I'm really happy with it.
It's so good, man.
We just committed to real fruit. It's puree. We order it from Oregon. It's not locally sourced fruit. I'll be honest. But you order real organic fruit from Oregon. It's real actual fruit that you're drinking. There's pineapple, cherry, and tangerine, as well as carefully selected hops that are a very, very special part of that beer. So we're really happy about it. I really appreciate the love, but that was by far our most popular beer this weekend.
I'm not surprised by it at all, and it's right up my alley. But milk, beers with lactose are a staple of this podcast, especially in sours. I'm a big lactose in my sours kind of guy.
Yeah.
The milkshake IPA trend is one that, for a guy that loves IPAs and loves lactose in beer, has been pretty disheartening for me because I feel like a lot of them are very much the same. They're super lactose heavy. I fail to get a lot else out of it, and that's why when I tried yours, I was like, oh my god, the lactose is there. I get it. I love it. I want it. But the fruit flavor, like you said, the purees you're getting from Oregon, whatever else you guys are doing to this thing, it all comes through so perfectly. Very, very impressive.
I appreciate it. No, yeah, and like I said, the hops we chose also play along. We specifically chose hops that go with I guess there's pineapple puree. There's also a hop called Denali, or it used to be called Denali. It's now Sultana. That's specifically pineapple flavored. And I put tangerine and use the hop called Mandarina Bavaria. That's specifically tangerine flavored, you know, etc. Like
so the hops are complementing the fruit flavors.
Specifically trying to
complementing the purees.
Yeah, it was carefully, you know, in my opinion, carefully selected hops to make it a full beer. I mean, it came out great. We're happy about it, so can't beat it.
So outside of what's here, does Tuckahoe have like a flagship beer? Like what when people come to the tap room, what's the one that you know that especially like the regulars and stuff are going to come in and they're going to have a few, and you know you're constantly brewing that one?
Yeah, so our flagship is a West Coast IPA. It's called the New Old School IPA. It's hopped with some like pretty classic hops, but just has a really nice like lemon lime flavor to it. And it's actually bitter, unlike a lot of these hazy IPAs that are just taste like juice. So the West Coast, like I said, New Old School, it sells really well actually. Well, not surprisingly, but I love the beer. But it's great to have a West Coast IPA that you can hang on to, because part of this, you know, the milkshake thing is a little scary, because like how long are these beers really going to last? Are people going to still want this a couple years from now? I don't know. Whereas like an IPA has already withstood the test of time, as far as I'm concerned.
I think the juicy IPAs or hazies or milkshakes, all that is definitely, I think they're an easier drink for the less beer-centered crowd, which plays itself really well. As much as I still enjoy those kinds of beers, I can still get down with a generic IPA, a West Coast IPA. And I will say, especially us being very South Jersey and Philadelphia-centric, West Coast IPAs especially, I mean, obviously this is the East Coast, but there are a lot of places that try it. I feel like a lot of them are very similar. They don't really stand out. And it's hard to find ones that really, really do well. I came from Bonesaw. I'm a Brotherton now, but I came from Bonesaw. They make a great West Coast IPA, but obviously AJ Edberg is from California, so he brought that with him. Outside of that, Double Nickel did their animal style one that I was a pretty big fan of. But other than that, there's not a ton of West Coast that stick out. So to hear that you guys, your flagship is a West Coast, being, you know, a South Jersey kind of brewery, like it is very. It makes me feel very good, because I think a lot of places are sticking to their more base IPA or even a New England IPA or things like that.
And I mean, it can be tough to hang your hat on one of these like hazy IPAs. Like you said, you never really know how long it's going to last. I think hazy IPAs, you know, they're going to have their foothold in brewery, you know, craft beer will probably for a while, but you got to have your everyday brews to go back to, you know, and you got to be able to hang your hat on like your classic beers.
Because those are never going to go away. They're always going to have like a safer, you know, we talk a lot in basketball, obviously this being a Sixers podcast, we talk about, you know, players' ceilings and players' floors and all that stuff. Like those staple ones, those more, your Pilsners, your West Coast IPAs, like the floor on them is high.
High floor,
you know,
your high floor beers. New Old School, our New Old School is a high floor beer. You can't go wrong with it.
So like obviously,
even when it's been rolling around in my trunk for a week, like, it still tastes like just like limey, New Old School, just goodness.
So as you have to roll with the punches of what's trendy right now, whether it's dessert stouts, whether it's sours, whether it's milkshake,
you name it, tiramisu, this, that,
yeah, like you roll with those punches and you realize like, hey, like this isn't something that, you know, we're gonna buy so much stuff of that we have the material for it for the next
5 years.
Yeah. 2. I mean, even in a shorter window.
2 even,
But you know that your IP, your flagship IPAs, your Pilsner stuff, you're gonna keep that malt coming in. You're gonna keep those ingredients coming. You're gonna make sure you're well stocked on them. And COVID was a great example of that, because there were shortages on everything. There were shortages on hops. There were shortages on cans. There were shortages on all.
Yeah, I mean, actually, one of the biggest things here was shortages on transit. Just getting like drivers out to our place.
Oh,
actually.
wow.
So
really?
Yeah, we actually ran out of CO2 a few times. You know, I'm not trying to call anybody, but yeah, like literally, like the driver straight up was just like he couldn't get here in time, which is awful, because like we're like, you know, we're trying to be in the middle of canning our beer, and like all of a sudden I lose pressure, and then the tap room opens later on and we have no gas for our beer. It was crazy. And it's funny because it's not even like a shortage. Obviously, there's no shortage on CO2.
Yeah,
there's literally a shortage on like transit almost in a way.
That's crazy.
Crazy to think about.
That's the first I heard of that.
And I think drivers are getting overworked too. It's like it's not even his fault. Like he probably is just like working 10, 12-hour shifts. He's got an unbelievable amount of stops.
So one of the questions I've asked every brewer we've had on so far, as we kind of talk about COVID a little bit. And the reason I bring it up is because, like, the Beer Fest is this perfect reopening of the world. We're getting back to normal. You know, as best as we can. The mask mandate's lifted, especially because we're outside. This is like the most people that have been together probably in the state since before COVID happened.
Easily. It has to be.
It's a big concert. It's a big beer fest. It's a big everything. It's this huge event. Everybody can relate to complications and struggles that happen during COVID, no matter what industry they're in, whether they're in the brewing industry, whether it's people that, had to start working remote, whether it's people that were laid off, whether it's people that were furloughed, all those kinds of things. We understand the struggles. But what I love to hear is the positives that came from it. And I know of a specific number of ones that came to the brewing industry because of this adaptations that had to happen. Can you speak to things that had to change at Tuckahoe that were in a good way, and that now, even as we come out of it, are likely to stay in place that may not have come to fruition if not for this very unfortunate circumstance, but trying to find positives in this kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you guys actually heard of Brewery Strong? Which I'm sure that this is actually a topic that's come up a lot over there this whole weekend. If you guys heard of Brewery Strong,
yeah, I saw the I know there's a tent here for it.
It was started by our salesman Rob Callahan.
Oh wow!
He basically started it almost as like a hashtag, he saw Industry Strong or something like that with like restaurants, and he started doing like a hashtag Brewery Strong. Texted up one of his buddies, like, hey, let's start this thing like Brewery Strong. Like next thing you know, he's pushing almost like 6 figures they've raised for Brewery Strong.
Wow.
Just for New Jersey breweries, 8 and stuff like that. So it's funny that it's one of those things that literally started in his living room as a text message to his buddy, and now it's just making an insane impact. Like I said, it's literally almost 6 figures that they've raised. It's totally insane.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, as toxic as social media can ultimately be sometimes, it's great to hear those stories that you obviously understand the benefits it does have, the positives it can. And like I said, the same way I'd like to put some kind of spin on COVID. It's terrible.
Sure.
It impacts a lot of people in a negative way. There's no downplaying that. But the adaptations that, industries even outside of brewing have had to take to survive, to succeed, and now we're seeing that going forward is something I really like to focus on and something I like to hear about.
Absolutely.
We got to talk to you about the Sixers a little bit. You
please,
said
give me some time. I hope I have time to talk about them, please.
All right, great. So, I know you've been busy here pouring as we've mostly been dicking around on our phones and stuff. Embiid is questionable for tomorrow.
He is already questionable.
Questionable.
Okay, so
upgraded from doubtful to questionable.
So to me, that's already we're good. Because in my opinion, we don't necessarily need Embiid to beat the Hawks.
Okay,
as far as I'm concerned.
I love it.
Okay.
He was the MVP of the league this year. There's no denying, and it's the most individually driven sport in the world. So we need him. He's potentially the best player in the game right now. We need him. But not that I'm trying to downplay the Hawks, but we still have a good team, man. We still have Ben Simmons, the defensive player of the year. We still have Tobias Harris. I know he gets a lot of hate. He had, in my opinion, a pretty bad season last year, but man, has he stepped up this year so much.
Sure, huge bounce back season.
It's amazing.
An amazing first round against Washington.
He's worked his way into that max contract, in such an inspiring way. And then just the way the team is rallied around them. You got Danny Green now hitting, good shooter, and just our biggest weakness was perimeter defense for a while, man. You have guys like Bradley Beal just dropping 50 points on us earlier in the year. Can't afford this stuff. We got Embiid. He's a great rim protector, but you need perimeter defense. You got Danny Green now, just top tier defender. Seth Curry, hitting shots. We need these 3-point shooting off the bench and these role players to really play into it. And they looked better than I've ever seen them without Embiid at the end of that series with the Wizards.
Game 5 was awesome.
They almost they weren't even. Embiid was almost not even a part of the rotation at that point.
It's almost like you gave him one day to prepare and it mattered.
Yeah,
exactly what it was.
And to be honest, they struggled throughout the year without him, and I was worried. And I kept telling my girlfriend over and over, I'm like, man, if Embiid misses any time in the playoffs, we're toast. But they really rallied around the team now, and they look good. And if Embiid is questionable already, then I'd be scared if I was anyone in the Eastern Conference.
That's right.
Damn right.
Now, my next question is, do you want the Bucks or do you want the Nets?
I want the Nets because
you want to beat them.
Well, no, because I think the Bucks are better. I've been saying it for weeks now.
It's tough.
And now the Nets are about to win Game 1, so it might have shut me up a little bit. Even with Harden leaving 1 minute into the game with an injury that we'll find out more about, but it sounds like it's going to take at least a couple days from what I read on Twitter. Again, obviously when we watch the game because we're here hanging out, Atlantic City Beer Fest, session number 3, wrapping it up here with Cory from Tuckahoe Brewing. But a few quick questions, things we've talked about in regards to the Sixers and in regards to the series, get your opinion. Number one, your thoughts on Tyrese Maxey taking over Shake Milton's minutes, and just Tyrese Maxey in general being a guy drafted 21st in this year's draft, not getting a whole ton of run in the regular season, and all of a sudden coming out in the playoffs of all times as a rookie and looking this great on the offensive end, being somebody that they ran the offense through in Game 5 to clinch a first-round playoff series. It feels unheard of in the NBA in general, and especially for a guy, again, drafted in the low 20s, not a number 1 pick, not a top 10 pick, number 21 to an already contending team. Just like, talk to me, your thoughts watching Tyrese Maxey, seeing that.
I mean, I'm nothing short of super impressed with Tyrese Maxey this year. I mean, it's so funny because, we keep talking about this lack of shooting. Ben Simmons, can't shoot. In the past, Joel Embiid, yeah, he can shoot, but he's 7 feet tall. He's not as good a shooter as some guards out there. And, we got Tyrese Maxey. He's not known as a shooter. He's more of like an athletic inside scorer.
Yep.
But you know what? It's almost like we're playing to our strengths now. Because, Shake Milton was a better shooter. And he's honestly, I think, a little bit of a better ball handler. But Maxey's pretty special with the ball in his hands right now, man. He can score. He's small, man. He's, 6'2"?
Yeah.
And, I mean, he's scoring, and he's, 19, whatever it is, 20 years old, scoring over grown-ass men in the NBA. It's just incredible. I mean, like I said, I was actually surprised, and I was kind of upset that Shake was not getting the minutes. It's funny you brought this up. I literally was talking about this last night. I'm surprised, but, I mean, how could you make an argument for Shake to take those minutes back at this point when Maxey's scoring almost 20, he's scoring 20 points a game
Shake's
at some
in a
points.
slump. It's tough. We're Shake guys. We love Shake, and we've seen the peaks of him be absolutely incredible as well. And I was talking to Steve about this before. It's like, listen, regardless of what happens the rest of these playoffs or anything, even if Maxey takes over the role, continues to get minutes, even if they shrink the rotation down to the point that neither of them play all that much, Shake Milton's on a league minimum deal, I think, for another 2 years at least. So, he's going to be a part of this team regardless of his play.
I think he wants it. I'm sure, yeah. I mean, I think he likes it. It seems like he likes the city. It's not like he's going to be, no offense to him, he's not going to be a starter somewhere else.
No, he's definitely He's definitely a bench player, but he's a contributing.
He's a great ball handler. He's a good shooter. I have no problem with him. But it's funny. It's hilarious you brought this up. But it's like, Maxey. I mean, he's just given. There's no reason to go back now. At this point, go ahead, Shake, hit a couple threes, and then we'll give you some more minutes. I'm not trying to say that as a threat, but I mean, geez, Maxey's just killing it.
Yeah. And then what about Matisse Thybulle on the defensive end?
Oh, he's so much fun to watch. Obviously, I mean, every now and then, I mean, he's got to shoot to keep the defense honest. I like him shooting. He's not the best shooter, but if he only hits 1 out of every 3, then who cares? But just special, man. He can almost defend all 5 positions, dude. It's crazy. And to have Ben Simmons on the team that can do the same thing, to have those two just versatile defenders, they're crazy. Especially on the fast break. If we can keep teams on their heels on the fast break, we can contend with anybody.
All right, so I told you Embiid's questionable. We don't technically know, but questionable. Regardless, weigh it out evenly. He could start Game 1, might miss Game 1. It looks like he's going to try to play at some point in this series. What's your prediction? Sixers-Hawks, round 2. Game 1 tomorrow, South Philadelphia, 1 p.m. What happens in the series?
All right. You got Game 1 in Philly tomorrow at 1 p.m. I think with or without Embiid, I think we take the first game. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Might be a close game, but, I mean, they got Game 1. I would say that within the first 3 games, the Hawks are going to take at least 1. It might be in Philly. It might be in Atlanta. I don't know. At one point, we're probably going to be up around 2-1 in this series. I wouldn't doubt we maybe go to 2-2, but I think we can beat the Hawks without Embiid for the whole series, to be honest. I mean, they're a great team. I'm not trying to talk them down at all, but
not at all.
This team they're looking just as special as ever. So
can you give us a Sixers in 6?
Sixers in 6 for sure.
That's right.
They're not losing any more than 2.
That's right. It's Sixers in 6 all day. No cowards allowed here. Cory from Tuckahoe Brewing, really appreciate you coming on the pod.
That was special.
Tuckahoe Brewing on Instagram, Tuckahoe CO. Check them out. They're in Egg Harbor Township, not too far outside of Atlantic City. If you have been at the AC Beer Fest, so not far from here, anywhere in South Jersey, you can get there. We're obviously much closer to Philly. We've been there. Awesome brewery, awesome beers here. Again, really, really impressed with the milkshake IPA that you guys had. Big fan, and congratulations on your job there, being the head brewer there for 2 years. Wish you guys continued success. Thank you for coming on. Thanks everybody who supported. We're going to be wrapping up from Session 3 at AC Beer Fest, so we appreciate everybody. Again, all social media, Process Potables, check it out. And trust the podcast. Thank you. And Sixers in 6, baby.
That's right.
Thank you.